Good morning and a happy Sunday to all. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're staying warm. Winter storms have hit a big portion of the United States. People are freezing their asses off right now. So crank up the heat, roll up, spark up, because we're going to get into this special rotation right now. Well, again, good morning to each and every one of you. We're glad that folks are watching. We're glad that folks is doing well and staying warm. It is, of course, Sunday, where we always take the time to educate and medicate at the same time. I'm your executive director of the Suncoast chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, Christopher Cano. Thank you. And I want to give a very special introduction and welcome to our Director of Public Policy, our political director, Mr. Gary Stein. Gary, sitting there with the pipe.
It's just one of those weeks where if you don't medicate, you have to abdicate. And I ain't planning on abdicating.
Gary says he ain't going nowhere. And in fact, we're going to talk more about it later in the show. We're going to take a deep dive. Gary just got back from Tallahassee for Cannabis at the Capitol, which was our joint lobbying day with our partners in the cannabis advocacy sector of Florida Cannabis Action Network, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, Hemp for Water, so many other great organizations that have been a part of this event for the past several years, getting the opportunity to highlight the issues that medical marijuana patients and cannabis users face in the state of Florida. But before we do that, I have to introduce our deputy director, our sound engineer, our producer, and the proprietor of Chillum Mushroom and Hemp Dispensary in Ybor City and St. Petersburg, Florida, Carlos Angel Jose Hermida.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Carlos. I can't remember if I think I got your I had a glitch and I got your middle names backwards.
I think you got it right, Carlos Angel Hermida.
I think I said Angel first, but it happens. And then of course we got joining us our resident IT geek, our community and communications director, Katrina Pink. Kat,
yes, y'all get into it. Make sure y'all hit that follow button on YouTube. Get into it. I don't really know what it is. Suncoast Norma in the building. Good morning, fellas.
Glad to have you. Yes, of course. If you're watching, please hit that like button. Go ahead, subscribe, comment, share, pass it around. If you're watching right now on Facebook, please do so. If you're on YouTube, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe you're on X or Twitter, go ahead and hit that retweet, hit that like. If you're watching on Twitch right now, awesome. Glad to have you. Glad folks are streaming in from all over. And of course, as we get going here, we want you to know that each and every Sunday here on The Rotation, we do our best to bring you the latest in cannabis news and entertainment. We've had some amazing guests over the past several years on the show. Hard to believe we've been doing this show for 11 years now. This started out as a podcast in Carlos's garage, where we were just, essentially on the tape talking shit. And then we got the opportunity to move us over to the radio, and shout out to the WTMP, that station for many years served the Tampa Bay community. Sad to see it go, but glad that we had the opportunity to be a part of history and broadcast The Rotation live on AM and FM. And then, of course, now that we do everything in-house, Carlos has a studio there that he's so graciously set up for our normal chapter in Chillum, and we had the opportunity to bring it to you live in video. And you can see each and every Sunday some of these awesome guests, whether they're members of Congress or the guest that we have scheduled today, which is the leader Fentrice Driskell, who is the House Minority Leader in the Florida House of Representatives. She leads the Democratic Caucus, and she'll be joining us hopefully later for the show. I know that this weekend has been crazy. We've had winter storms. There have been protests and strikes happening all across the country based on the administration's current policies. And then, of course, yesterday there was a tragic killing by a ICU nurse who works at the VA while he was filming ICE agents and Border Patrol agents carrying out their enforcement operations. And they ended up tackling him, taking his gun away, which was in the holster, and then they shot him several times. And so I just want to take a moment to really just offer a moment of silence in memory of a union member who was doing what he could to try and make this world a better place. And of course, for all those out there who have lost family members throughout this turbulent time that we're experiencing in our country.
And let's make the point that he cares for our warriors, who we also care deeply for as well. And it's not an easy job. I worked for a short period of time at Walter Reed Hospital, and I can tell you that the VA is a very interesting place for healthcare, and it takes nerves of steel to manage the kind of controlled chaos.
Indeed.
And Carlos, Chris, you've interfaced with the VAs before. It's not easy working for them, but the people that are there are highly dedicated, and this was a highly dedicated individual.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a moment to talk about the VA and veterans, because veterans are such an important part of the cannabis advocacy community, and we've worked with our friends at the Weed for Warriors Project. We got friends who like Pablo, who does veteran seminars to raise awareness for the issues that veterans face, especially the PTSD and the massive suicide rate, which is very disparate among the veteran population compared to everyone else. And there's a lot to be said as to what we can do more and what we can do better for our veterans. Number one being the VA. Many veterans, especially my grandfather, I remember his time going to the VA and dealing with his cancer treatment. I know many of our friends now who are veterans of the global war on terror experience a lot of issues because of the short staffing, and that goes back to the Veterans Administration and the budget. And Congress right now is working on getting the budget bills finalized and passed this week before the government shuts down again. Congress basically has to the end of the week this week to get everything passed and on the president's desk. And in all of it, veterans oftentimes get left behind. We got a Pentagon that has $1 trillion budget that has consistently failed its audit since they started auditing the Pentagon. I mean, they've never passed one single audit, and yet our veterans are consistently seeing cuts to the VA. The VA staff have seen their union rights, essentially stripped by executive order. There's a lot to be said about, what can we do better as a nation? And number one would be electing better elected officials, because clearly the members of Congress that are in charge right now don't have our veterans at heart. But in the state of Florida, Gary, you were actually up there this past week advocating. There are a couple bills. There's one in the House, one in the Senate. You got to get it through both chambers that will waive the veterans their fee for medical marijuana cards, and will also make the renewal period much longer. And I thought, that is interesting, because right now it's every 270 days. Basically, you got to renew your card, and this will move it out to 2 years. So, Gary, I just wanted to get your comments or your thoughts on that bill.
There are some excellent bills that are coming through this year. I got to tell you, it is so hard to get bills in both the Senate and the House right now. They are so caught up in so many other issues. It seems that cannabis, although it is important to us, oftentimes gets put down in rank because they have to spend 2.5 to 3 hours on a new fetal personship bill. Like what happened the day that I was there, where literally they spent 2.5 hours on the floor of the House debating whether or not a fetus is personhood. And I don't think it really changes anybody's lives on a day-to-day basis. Like some of the other things, they are going to be getting into other great things. But like, for instance, we've been fighting for this thing for the free cards for vets now I'd say 10 years since the whole thing started. We got a request originally from a gentleman that we know from Buds for Vets. Jimmy, how you doing out there over in Lake City? And he said, we need to have some kind of help for the vets to get their cards. And we did our best to get the bill through. And now FCAN picked up the mantle on that one, is still running with it. And yet it still does not have a committee stop yet that it is going to.
Gary, you know what? You just put into perspective, one, how long we've actually been doing this, right? I
was just about to ask that question. Sorry about that, Kingdom. I promise.
Yeah, I remember how long. Like, I'm thinking now. Like, I remember being up there when Jimmy still had dreadlocks, right?
Shit.
You know, and advocating and having a normal and a Weed for Warriors table up in the Capitol, trying to educate these politicians. And I remember that year we thought we were going to get the veterans card passed, and they ended up amending the bill to put THC caps. And basically, you know, at that point, you got to kill the bill, because it's like, okay, if we give our veterans the free cards, we're also going to cap the medicine, and we're going to make them pay double and triple the cost just to be able to effectively medicate. And that was a ludicrous year. And that was and then that came back. And wasn't it Jay Collins, the lieutenant governor? He was the one who was behind that bill. So,
that's right.
And now he wants to be our governor.
Well, and Byron Donalds also wants to be our governor too. I believe that Sheriff Grady Judd just endorsed him yesterday, which is, I'm certain there's some money behind there. I just can't. I can't see those two getting along either.
Wasn't Collins is a veteran himself, right? Like, doesn't he have like a prosthetic leg or something?
I thought so.
Yeah. Jay Collins is a veteran. He you know, I remember him berating Pablo, if I'm not mistaken, when he went up there a couple years ago to testify.
I brought Pablo
very critical.
I brought Pablo up there, including many of Pablo's friends. I personally rented the van that took Pablo and like 4 or 5 veterans up there to go talk about how veterans need hemp and hemp is useful to the veteran community.
I would have loved to have been in that van. It must have been a hell of a ride.
Me too. Spark up.
He fucking shamed us. He shamed us. He said that we were parading veterans around for our agenda and that we should feel ashamed about it. And it was like, dude, like these 5 veterans just got up in front of you, said that they needed help. You know,
I mean, when Marines and Air Force and Army and Navy all come together, right, and say, look, man, we need help. And then you got the balls to sit there and berate them for even speaking out. I mean, that is not a guy who I feel is qualified to be our governor. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worse than Rick Scott walking around with his Navy hat and
don't start.
You know,
hey,
and returning his dog back to the shelter after the election.
You know, I should be surprised that a guy like Collins doesn't give a fuck about veterans, but I'm not. I feel so jaded from Florida politics at this point. Like, anything's fucking possible.
It feels in a lot of ways like some of these politicians, being a veteran is a checkbox on their road to power. I mean, look at Governor DeSantis. He's a veteran. What has he done for our veteran community?
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
if a bill wants to get through, right, Kat? If politicians in power want shit, they'll push it through.
Right. That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying. It's better ways, and I think the thing is we have to be the ones to show them it's a better way. You got to keep pushing it. Like Gary, sorry, hold on really quick, Los.
No, go.
But Gary, I know it's taking a longer time or what have you. The way that you push and you're all in their faces to let them know that you are to the veteran who's fighting for this and who needs this or whatever the case may be. It may seem like nothing is being done or whatever, but people out here fucking hearing you, bro. And that's what I know. I feel like they hear it, but they're not applying until it's like for them or somebody that's close to them and have to hit like home. And that's not how that shit should work. Because
one thing that a lot of them don't realize is that I'm ready to do the long game. And those people are expecting us to do the short game. You know, give it a try 1 or 2 years, then just give it up and go on to the next thing. And we haven't done that. We didn't do that in the very first time. And when I first started working on this topic before there was a cannabis program, we had been working for years just to try to be heard. It wasn't the first time we'd been to the Capitol. We've been going to the Capitol for the last 20 years or so. And yet, when they saw us coming, they started running.
But Gary, look at this though. I mean, we as normal, we are the local chapter for the National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws. Our end goal is to legalize. And something so simple that we've been fighting for so long, that's just free med cards for veterans. You know, something that's like there should be no whoop to it's not like they can make an argument that they're losing a lot of money over it.
Right, no brainers.
It's something that, you know, they definitely understand that marijuana could be useful as medicine to a veteran, right? This is no secret, right? And yet they're like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the truth will out, and we have the documentation, we have the research, we have the history to verify all the things that we're saying in regards to how cannabis is used as a medical product. I'll grant you our medical program here in Florida is still a quasi-medical program, but we are still going in the right direction, and we are still trying to tweak it and put out these glitch bills. But there was a time when there wasn't even a bill to remove the glitches from. And
I know what it is we need to do, fellas. I need to just go with you, Gary. I really need to come with you and compliment this deal. And
my point is how relentless, how awful the prohibitionist politicians are in Florida. I mean, how bad is that? Where they, you know, that we're not even asking for much. You know, the ability to home grow and free med cards for veterans, and they're still like, no, fuck you.
I don't know. Just I feel like if you go next time you meet up with somebody, Gary or whoever, yeah, I'm just gonna just flat out ask, hey, do you smoke? Or is it for medicinal purposes, personal purposes? What is it for? Because if you do, we need you. You're our kind. I'm just gonna be straightforward. There's no in between. I'm not trying to educate you no more. Do you smoke and why?
Yeah, okay. You know, interesting point is that there's a level of hypocrisy among those in power, because I recall several years back there was a bill to legalize it in the state of New York, and the assemblyman who got on the floor and argued the hardest against it and said how bad weed was and everything, during the break that they took, was arrested because he was hotboxing his car.
No, he was having a good time.
But he just had got off the floor talking that shit.
That's what I'm saying. Hear ye.
Yeah.
Okay, you're our kind, but you're trying to put us down and make it look like we're the bad guy. Here it is.
I mean, and so you have to ask yourself, what would motivate a smoker, a cannabis user, to say such things? And then you go and you look at the rehab industrial complex. And I say that because I've been through the rehab program in the state of Florida. It is an industry. They are cranking it out, right? People are being sentenced by judges, and the rehab nonprofits are making millions. You know, the person in the rehab is getting fleeced for tens of thousands of dollars in fees, whether from the criminal justice system or rehab itself. And then you look at the people, these people will turn around and make political donations. I actually, when I ran for office, was invited to the actual same rehab place I had just went through a few years back to sit there and talk to these folks about all these good things that they're doing. And I just, in so many ways, it sets me wrong. And then you look at here in the state of Florida, the University of Florida has ties to smart approaches to marijuana through Kevin Sabet, their founder. And if you know anything about Kevin Sabet, he was the drug czar under Clinton and Bush and Obama. So you got someone out there whose sole purpose in life has always been to keep this illegal. And now they've gotten funding through some dark money sources. When we say dark money, it gets laundered through certain nonprofits. So on paper, it's not coming from these billionaires directly.
Right.
And it gets around these campaign finance laws. And now they're bankrolling efforts in Maine, Massachusetts, and Arizona to roll back legalization efforts at the ballot. And people are signing petitions in these states and saying, I didn't even know that's what that was for. So, you know, as a voter in this day and age, we have to be so much more educated. Right. And they purposely keep cutting education funding because they don't want to produce educated voters in this society.
Correct. I agree. I totally agree. But I don't know.
What do we do? What do we do?
How
'Cause
much education can we have, and can we let them know that we have, or anyone may have, to convince? It's just
it
not.
ain't education anymore. It's the pocketbook.
It's
Money and politics.
Money is the root of all. Okay, so there we go. So next time Gary is out and about,
I can guarantee you, if I go to Tallahassee with you, I'll get a lot more smiles when I go into those offices. So
I know
you're more
for
than
a
welcome.
fact. I saw this it was a deja vu moment. I thought I saw somebody in Bahama Breeze. This is a true story. I thought it was Gary. I went to look at I looked like, you're not gonna speak. And the guy finally turned around. I'm like, so I'm like, okay, so I saw this. I know. I don't know. I really feel that, as a team, we need to change it up a little bit, and I'm for that.
Well, I'm not going to Bahama Breeze and say lower their prices on the conch fritters, because they
Oh
just
no,
charge
that's
too
what I
damn much
had
for
ordered. I
themselves.
don't care if it is an extra $1.79 more. I want the comfort. Give it here. Two of them.
Are we gonna have an executive board day at Bahama Breeze? Is that what?
I would rather have an executive board day in the Bahamas and get real conch rather than the frozen conch fritters from Bahama Breeze.
There's a strong possibility we could actually do that. I feel like everybody deserves that. But seriously,
we
I
should
feel
hop
like
on the ferry and catch the day trip to the Bahamas.
let's just go. What's up? It's not that far away. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
anyways,
I'm all for it, y'all. Our summer board retreat, we'll definitely look at going to the Bahamas. So,
and the next time, Gary, I'm serious. We need to look into that. I'm for it. I can figure out, try to make some time with work or whatever. But it's time. I'm not coming to, hey, this is why we did this and da da da. Do you smoke? And if you do, why? Is it for why is it so hard for you to understand this is why we probably do it as well?
Well, I can tell you for a fact.
We really need to understand, why is it so hard for us to push this? What is?
I can tell you for a fact that there are quite a few legislators we have here that have their medical card, and I've known them to imbibe without one. Let's just put it that way. I can't name names without having some kind of litigation going after me, because they haven't given me permission to go ahead and say what I'd say if I was going to say it. So
that is true. That is healthcare information. That is private. That is true.
Very HIPAA. That's very HIPAA law right there. So be careful with that. But yeah, continue. I agree.
Actually, it's not actually considered a HIPAA violation, because I am not their healthcare provider.
But you shouldn't even, you're aware of it. If it's personal or whatever, you shouldn't.
Well, the HIPAA laws specifically state that healthcare providers with access to patient information cannot release protected information to the public without the permission of the patient, of course.
Well, right. I am no work in healthcare near that, and I just want to say that some of our strongest prohibitionists and loudest voices against legalization have medical cards. And you know who you are, Senator.
Oh shit!
So there's 40 of them, but they know who they are.
Well, we know that Ted Cruz went to Laguna because of the good prices over there. Just saying. It goes back to what I was saying about hypocrisy, about money, about it's like, what is your legacy? And one of the things that struck me about Zoran Mamdani, the recently the new mayor of New York, was that when they asked him in a debate, have you ever purchased cannabis? He's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, go get it at this dispensary over here. And it's like that's awesome. Those are the type of people that
people have put together.
We need him. We need his kind. Where is he?
Eyes, showing that he definitely looks stoned most of the time.
Yes, that's good. That's
has there been, other than Nikki Fried, has there been a Florida politician that has admitted to smoking weed?
Yes. I mean, there's some who have medical cards. They're like, yeah, I have a medical card. They'll say that in a more intimate crowd, a fundraiser. But there are very few who are out there saying, yes, I'm a smoker. It doesn't ruin my life. I'm still legislating and I'm still doing my job effectively. And when I get home at the end of the day to deal with my back pain or my anxiety, I spark one up. And it was like, if you just have that level of candor and honesty with the voters, you'll probably get a better response rather than trying to be all buttoned up and your ass squeezed so tight you can shit a diamond,
And well, I managed to stop by and meet up with the ex-Senate President Don Gates, Matt's dad, who was at one time, like I said, head of the Senate here in Florida. And I mentioned the fact that I was proud to share the same Wikipedia page with him, because if you go to Wikipedia and look up Amendment 2 in 2016, you'll see that they reference the article that I wrote in the Huffington Post about the fact that the Senate President once got cannabis for a friend of his who was his pastor, who was passing away from cancer. And we had that brief moment in the elevator where I mentioned the fact, and he said, "Well, we do what we have to do," and that was the right thing to do.
Gary, it makes me wonder if Matt Gaetz was our Attorney General right now instead of Pam Bondi, how different things would be playing out, from rescheduling to everything else. But Matt, unfortunately, got involved in some stuff with the Seminole County tax collector that involved some underage girls. And the Florida bar recently decided to drop their investigation about it. And so I think that is definitely a challenge too, is that when you finally get to a certain level, everything comes out. So that's a major issue that we have with certain politicians. And then you have to think about, man, I don't want to be associated, and I don't want the movement associated with people like that, because there are people who use cannabis who have other issues in life that doesn't always cast a good light. Or I was thinking about it earlier, the Tom Forsyth, who helped found High Times. He was a problematic individual. So there are definitely good and bad folks who utilize cannabis, just like there are good and bad folks who drink. And the fact is that cannabis, for some reason, always they automatically demonize everybody who uses it, but no one demonizes everybody who drinks. And that is a social stigma we still have to work to overcome. I mean, I know Sheriff Judd Grady consistently demonizes us, and I get why. It's good for business, good for that inflated budget. But last I checked, potheads were not the ones running the meth labs.
Well, I was thinking of sending a big picture of myself on foam core to Grady Judd, just so he can have it if ever he needs it, because I think it would be a badge of honor for me to be on one of his pieces of foam core that he shows off at one of his press conferences.
Gary, I got to ask you something.
You think he's going to do it, Gary?
Doesn't everybody else?
That's the question, babe. That's where we are with that one.
We have, you mentioned, we covered the Republicans running to replace Governor DeSantis, right? There's Jay Collins, who has not been an ally to this movement. There's Byron Donalds, who is a congressman from South Florida, who definitely, has not been positive for us. I can't recall any positive votes coming out of him in Congress towards cannabis reform. And that's on the GOP side. On the Democratic side, two of the leading candidates right now for governor are David Jolly, who used to be the Republican who lost to Charlie Crist in St. Pete, and now he's a Democrat running for governor. In Jolly's time, I don't recall any pro-cannabis votes or positive motion. And then you have Jerry Demings, who used to be head of the Florida Sheriff's Association when he was Orange County Sheriff. And I recall in 2015, we had to host a press conference because Jerry went out there and said that they were putting gummies, edible gummies in the Halloween candy. So, I mean, we are definitely not in a space where I can see either party putting up a candidate that is pro-cannabis. And that's a major issue. So what do we do in this election this year?
Well, we like I said, we got a lot of bills that have come up. We are hoping that we can get any of them into committee. I worked with the head of the Judiciary Committee to try to work on getting our bill into the first one. But again, you've got bills if they have 4 committees, and you're already talking about the second week of our 2-month session. They are going to eventually run out of time.
Yeah,
but to get all 4 committees unless they can rush it through. But it's amazing how certain bills did rush through. Like, for instance, one of the bills that did go through is the Gruder's bill on blocking of public smoking. Now, you may say, why do they need to put a cannabis bill with no public smoking when the very first bill, 8A rather, automatically specifically states there is no public smoking. In fact, we even went to the Supreme Court on that in regards to whether or not public smoking should be allowed. And one of the reasons they got the Amendment 2 to go through in the first place, because they were saying that it wasn't going to be, it was going to cause all this public smoking. And they're saying, well, it does say in the amendment that public smoking is not allowed, and this, that, the other place, which means obviously it should be allowed in other places. They've been dicking us around on these kind of things all the time, and yet they're still working on this. I am concerned in the fact that they are going to link cannabis smoking to cigarette smoking and use the same Indoor Clean Air Act of Florida of 1998, whatever it was, which basically says that if you serve food, you can't have any kind of smoking. And they added vaping to that years later. And now they want to add cannabis to that rostrum of things you can't do when they're serving food. And it is my opinion, because of the fact that the law does state you can't smoke it anywhere in public except for your home if you own it, or if the person who owns it allows you to do it, to have someplace else to go. And they say, well, if you have public spaces, like for instance, like Swamp City. Well, Swamp City is a public venue. There's no fee to go in there. But if they even sold you a sandwich there and it was part of the income, that would make it illegal to be able to do it there. They're finding another way to
well, I'm no lawyer, but I look at can you sell me some edibles that I can't even smoke, right?
Trying to create consumption.
I muted him.
Yeah, I think Gary's bandwidth is running low, but I think Carlos, that these are questions and policies that the politicians are pushing right now that are going to have unintended consequences down the line when we go to ask for social use lounges. Some of the things that I really enjoyed that they have out west. They have a restaurant in Hollywood. I know Tiffany, our finance director, she said the wait list for reservations is months long, but they have a restaurant that serves you food, and also you can order cannabis at the table. I thought that's freaking awesome, right? I mean, really imagine being able to go down to Key West or Miami or even in Tampa and being able to do that.
I mean, they've got spots in Vegas where you can't eat food there, but the bartender will bring you a cannabis drink, and they will bring you, a Puffco Peak or a bong or a joint. If you order it.
When are we going?
That's where our retreat should be.
Well, that's the thing too, right? It's like Florida is really missing out, right? Because Vegas is very forward with their cannabis policy, and it's like, who wants to go to the damn desert, right? Florida is paradise compared
to but Vegas has its issues too. I mean, they're far ahead of Florida too, but there's similarities as well, because it's all big cannabis. There's no mom and pop shit there.
Yeah. Unless you get it from the Native American in First Nations, which I gotta say, in Canada, the First Nations bud is more affordable, doesn't have taxes, and is definitely of a higher quality.
Could you imagine going to the Hard Rock Casino to buy weed? That'd be pretty crazy.
Oh man,
I know you can smoke in front of them because I did it, and the police walked right past me. I was like, "Are you good?" He was like, "I'm good." I was like, "I'm great."
Hey, the Hard Rock. I mean, the Seminole tribe could definitely take lead on that.
Well, I have a few questions if you guys don't mind. I'm honestly a few things that I'm pretty excited about is both of them being Carlos Guillermo Smith's bills. Carlos Smith, a friend of the show, has a bill going out right now that's for home grow, right? And then he has another bill that it seems to aim to open up the industry. It seems to want to break up these licenses and make it a little bit easier for people to get in. I'm under the understanding that these bills don't have companion bills, and therefore are kind of screwed from the get-go, right? But there's a lot of articles going out that these bills have a chance of making it, or am I confused?
Just getting the sad part is, Carlos, most of the time when we look at bills like this, it's a multi-year fight, and just getting a committee hearing is a moral victory in itself, but it doesn't do anything to solve these issues. I mean, I go back to think about Rick Kreisman, the former mayor of St. Petersburg, when he was in the Florida House, all the way going back to 2010, was sponsoring, a legalization bill in Kathy Jordan's name.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at 16 years later. This guy's not even the mayor of St. Pete anymore, let alone in the Florida legislature. And we're still at square one on this legislation. And yes, Carlos Guillermo Smith is a champion for our community, for cannabis advocacy. And yet, I remember he was one from the get-go when he was in the Florida House. Now he's in the Florida Senate. I mean, these are the issues that we're still facing to this day. And then Florida has term limits. And you start to think about these issues of term limits versus non-term limits. Yes, we want to change politicians regularly, but when you get an ally who's really on your team on these issues, and then they're going to be gone in a few years. I mean, for example, Senator Polsky is another person who has a couple of set of bills. And when she was in the House, she was on our team sponsoring bills. Now she's in the Senate for employment protections, which I think is probably, we talk about home cultivation and we talk about the importance of legalization, but medical marijuana patients who are following the rules are still getting fired from their jobs, or when they take a piss test, showing their card is not good enough to invalidate that. And I think that's a major issue. And then we have the parental rights issue, because you can still have your status as a legal patient used against you in court by your ex, or even just triggering a CPS investigation because you use cannabis. These are issues that we should not be dealing with as legal medical marijuana patients in the state of Florida.
Right. Let's
Yeah, you'd be
deal with
surprised
legalization first. Let's legalize it first. Then we deal with that.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of legislators who said, I had no idea that was even going on. I had no idea that people that have their kids being taken away just for having a medical card, even if the kids don't have access to the medication, yada, yada, yada. And it's just a matter of educating them. I mean, a lot of them do not know everything. We in our sphere see a lot more than they do. And to bring it to their attention is paramount if they're listening.
I think one of the biggest issues, and this is a controversial topic, but the drug testing of women of color in the hospital while giving birth is disparate, right? If you're black or a brown woman, there's like 8 out of 10 chance they're gonna piss test you without your consent. But and then I talk to white women about it, and they're like, oh no, that never happened to me. So there are cases where during pregnancy, the Phenergan and some of the nausea drugs may not work. That cannabis is a healthier, safer alternative. And for some reason, because of the demonization of it, there's always these issues that automatically can trigger CPS investigations. Right. And I keep going back to the example in South Carolina, where there was a lady who used cannabis during pregnancy because of the morning sickness. And she ended up having her kid taken away from her the minute it came out. And that kid is now 5 years old and she's never seen her child. Yeah, and that is why we're pushing the parental rights.
That is correct. And they don't even wait until it's time to deliver, Kano. But you're right. They are starting to do that in the OBGYN appointments, the maternity appointments. They're taking piss tests and asking them and all kind of questions. I have my stylist bring that up as well. And that is absolutely correct. This is happening way before they give birth. And then taking the kid when they give birth, like you said. It's insane.
And so, the civil rights fight for cannabis users is directly tied to the racial justice fight in this country, because you can go directly back to the Nixon administration that put forward Schedule I status, and you can listen to the statements from Nixon's domestic policy advisor. And he said, look, we knew we couldn't make it illegal to be a hippie and against the war. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be black and part of the civil rights movement. But we did know that we can criminalize the cannabis that is used by folks in these communities. And in that way, we can attack them. And we are still fighting these ghosts of the Jim Crow era in cannabis prohibition to this day.
To this day. It's like it's no turning point, but I guess that one seed, that one bad, that they said that Satan was once an angel. Okay, so he started to do things his way. Sometimes you just have to veer off.
Well, he wasn't an angel; he was just good looking.
Well,
whatever the case may be, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you veer off when you don't.
guys,
It's
it's
time to
2026.
show them our way. Somebody
Yeah,
else's
it's
way.
2026, Carlos. Yes.
So 2016, we legalized medical marijuana in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard from this political update show that originally was a Driscoll show, but has turned into a political update show. From what I've heard from this, right, the only bills that we have in the legislature that has a chance of passing is employment protection and parental right protection, right?
Yeah, because those have companion bills.
So that means that everything we're doing is defensive.
Yes.
Not really. Well, we are, but we aren't. There are bills that we can actually insert our bills into as we move forward. And those are the appropriations bills for the particular departments, like Department of Health, in law enforcement, and all the other ones. There we'll be able to find places to put those bills if we don't get them as standalone bills.
So, but when I hear that, I'm just being a downer this entire show. But when I hear that, I think, oh, they can easily slip some sort of prohibitionist thing into this.
Yes, they can, Carlos.
And they do every year.
That's the point that you have. That's not a downer. That's a valid point.
Well,
there's
House Bill 1409, which will put more restrictions on THC and hemp products, including restrictions on products that they consider attractive to minors, more business licensing red tape for you, Carlos, and other businesses.
And don't even get me started on that shit, because apparently, like, now we've got Democrats putting forward hemp bills to restrict hemp bills. You got Rusan and you got some woman from South Florida. I think it's South Florida.
Well, Senator Rusan is an interesting case. I mean, Chris and I have dealt with him on a one-on-one basis many times.
I would like to hear what Kano and Gary have to say about Rusan pretty badly, actually.
Chris, I'll let you go first.
No, Gary. I'm going to say that. Go ahead.
I mean,
I'll keep this shit here at a minimum. You hear?
The first time I asked Senator Rusan to come on the show, he said, "I ain't even talking to you guys if Kano going to be there." So I said, "No problem. We can give him a good indica and he'll be fine for the day." But he put out the first paraphernalia bill, which is one of the reasons that Carlos has to constantly tell people it's not a bong, it's a water vase. Whatever you want to call it.
That. Every time I'm in his office, he loves to talk about how he put forward paraphernalia bills. And I just sink deeper into my seat thinking, like, God damn it, you're the motherfucker that makes me kick people out of my store.
I mean, he's 16 years sober, but he at one point
all those stipulations on that damn bill, like he did something. Get your ass out here.
Is it true that, like, when he got out of rehab and he started, like, becoming more of like a community leader or whatever, that he, like, started going into these stores with, like, baseball bats and started, like, trying to smash them up and shit? I heard that rumor somewhere.
I've heard the rumor. I don't know that it's actually
Carlos,
true.
if a senator walks into your store with a baseball bat and starts breaking your pipes, take that baseball bat from his hand and beat him silly and defend substantial fucking ground.
Like, before he became serious about being a politician, he would do that shit.
I mean, I just think it's sad that we live in a time where performative politics is so theatrical that there's no real substance behind it. I mean, look, I'm not going to comment on Senator Rusan personally. I detest his views on so many things, and I detest the hypocrisy behind it. And he knows I'm no fan of his, and clearly he's no fan of mine. All right. And it also, Gary, if you want to know where our beef stems to, it goes all the way back to where we were supposed to have a debate of Amendment 2 on a Walter Smith show on public radio on WMNF. And when he found out, and when he found out he was debating me, he pulled out. So then I ran ads on the internet calling him a chicken shit.
Oh shit! I missed this. How long ago was this for?
This was 2016. This was literally a decade ago.
Damn.
And then when we got up to Tallahassee and I testified before the Senate committee, he was so salty about it, he had to take the time and use the taxpayers' money to which he was being paid for to sit there and talk shit to me across the dais. And then when we got in the elevator, it was me, him, and Senator Thurston, and I'm just glad Perry was in the middle because who knows what could have happened on that elevator? It would have been a Solange Jay-Z moment,
Oh shit! I need to. If I was a fly,
he's like in love with Ellen Snelling.
Yeah, and it's like
I've seen him address her in like a public setting. He's like, I just wanted to say that you're awesome, and you fight this war.
Yes, because she is the gatekeeper to the rehab industrial complex's money in the local areas, right? In the Bay Area. So I just want us to understand that, again, politicians have a financial motivation in getting reelected. Thankfully, he's being put out to pasture. This is one of those times where I said term limits is helpful. We don't ever have to see him again in the Florida Senate. And maybe, Carlos, in a few years' time, we can get the stupid bong law repealed to where, you don't have to say it's a water pipe.
I'm just trying.
I'm not smoking water out of the damn pipe.
Not water any damn ways, but
it's not water. And I just got to say, it's so absurd that you got to put a little disclaimer for tobacco use only, because never in my life have I thought, let me buy some of this loose tobacco and put it in this bowl and hit it through the water. It's so much better than just sparking up a cigarette, And I'm not a cigarette smoker either. My dad and family come from a long line of folks who rolled cigars as part of the, West Tampa and Ybor City immigrants, at the turn of the 20th. And I think that Tampa has such a great history of being being called Cigar City. And with cannabis, we have the opportunity to really get ahead of an industry, and we haven't. It's been a decade now, and I've said it to the Democrats. I said, y'all have an opportunity to get a lead on this, and they haven't. And now corporate cannabis donates millions to the GOP to get things done. And it's like, y'all missed the boat. And part of it is directly because of Darryl Roussan in his leadership in the Democratic Party. He's sabotaged the Democratic Party's opportunity to ingratiate itself to the cannabis industry, to help shape it in a way that is patient rather than pro-profit. And that's what we have right now, is an industry shaped by political factors that are pro-profit, not pro-patient.
Well, I actually just got a text from somebody that I'm not going to disclose on air, but they are basically saying that Senator Roussan has fallen off mentally.
Right? He what?
And is being taken advantage by the powers that be, if you will, because of it.
Well, when politicians get older and they've been doing things a while, I do notice that people get into their ways, and then staffers ended up taking over. I mean, I recall a couple years back, there were members of Congress who were in their 80s who essentially they would wheel them in a wheelchair up to go vote, put their card in for them, and put their hand on the button. That's how bad it is with our age problem in American politics right now. Is you have people who are sitting in offices. Not every person in an office that's a senior citizen is as sharp as Bernie Sanders. That's all I'm going to say. And this is on both sides of the aisle. But the Democrats in particular have an aging problem. You have people who are sitting in leading committees and being ranking members who were alive back before people had equal rights, and some were damn near in office back then. That's sad, but that's where we're at. Our president is 80 years old. He's the oldest president ever, and he got up in the middle of a cabinet meeting the other day and just decided to look out the window. And look,
he's kicking in.
Man, look, we had Tommy Chong on the show.
Smoking with us in a minute. It's kicking in.
Carlos, Gary, do y'all remember when we had Tommy Chong on the show and Tommy sat there with us for 2.5 hours talking, and his kids came downstairs and went like, "Dad, are you still on the show?" Because 80-year-old people will talk to you all day because no one talks to them on a daily basis like that. They don't get to have human interactions as often. The older you get, the less your family and your friends talk to you. Because you have less friends. My grandmother lived to be 83 years old, and I can tell you, she outlived all her friends. She outlived most of her family. It is a lonely existence on the other side of 80 for a lot of folks. And cannabis is a beautiful thing, because I brought a friend of mine to an event at the bunker at Battle Buds, who's in his 80s, and he was stoned out of his mind, but he had his mind, and he had a great time, and he got to commiserate and get out the house, And I can tell you that cannabis is a beautiful thing for our aging senior population. And the sad part is if you go to the villages, they love their cannabis over there. And they're Trump voters in the vast majority of that area. So this is an issue that stretches across parties, but we have a disconnect in both parties as to actually giving a shit. And again, it goes back to money makes people give a shit. And as long as there are prohibitionist forces giving money, as long as there's corporate cannabis giving money, and then you have our nonprofit advocacy sector, we're not giving money. We're doing our best to organize voters. That's why when we release endorsements, we get a lot of pushback, and it's like, well, what are you guys, stay in your lane? Why are you getting involved in politics? We don't have a fucking choice, people. Correct. If you're a cannabis user and you don't vote, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're asking for people who don't have your best interests at heart to make policies for you.
There is no better way to say this than just look at fucking Florida history politics. 2016, I said it already in the show. 2016, we legalized medical marijuana. Since then, we've gone from being a purple state to a red state, right? And in 2026, we're playing defensive. I get it that Republicans want to legalize weed. I get it that this is not a bipartisan issue. But here's the thing: is that Republican politicians, they're bought out. They're bought out by the private prisons. They're bought out by alcohol companies. They're bought out by a bunch of people, right? And I'm not saying that Democrats are bad.
Democrats are. They're just bought out by different forces. Yeah, they're bought out by insurance companies. They're bought out by banks.
They're bought out by
money. It's the money. It's the money.
If marijuana is legalized.
Yeah.
So and that's why and unfortunately the best chance that we have right now, and I might get a bunch of bullshit for saying this, but the best chance we have right now is True Leaf.
This is why I don't sleep at night.
Unfortunately, because Kim Rivers has the money to go and put it forward and put it towards people like Donald Trump to get Schedule 3, and Republicans want to see weed legalized. Republican people want to see weed legalized, but
they want their cut, just like the charter schools. Exactly. Byron Donald, who's running for governor, right? His wife ran a charter school that ended up fleecing for a whole bunch of money and left a whole bunch of parents scrambling to get their kids into other schools. And the charter school hustle has been a Republican moneymaker. The private prisons, the Core Civic, which was originally Correction Corporation of America, which is the largest private prison company in the country, was founded by the chairman of the Tennessee Republican Party. So each of these organizations have these industries that they're looking for their cut, and now cannabis is the newest one where you see Republican politicians wanting their cut. And you look at the beef that DeSantis has with cannabis, and it all stems back to, I don't think he got as big as check as he wanted from True Leaf a few years back, so he's been beefing ever since. And that's we can all draw the conjecture from it, but it's any educated mind can see the writing on the wall.
Remember,
you're our resident pulse to the streets. So none of this shit really matters to the average person who just wants to be left alone and smoke. What are your thoughts on, like, where do people go? Like, is this a value to the average person to hear these things, or is there something else that we should be doing to get the word out? You're on mute, my friend. Come off mute. It's all good.
Sorry about that. So me, really quick, I'm gonna speak for people that I hang around, and we have talked and had these conversations. That's a really good question. Thank you, Kano, for real. But it's like when we talk, they want to skip the sativa, indica, because most of them don't they already don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say what this is for. So they want to get straight to it. So when I get straight to it, this is where I'm at with that. If you smoke, why? What is it? What do you think is the downfall of it? What do you think is the misuse, if any? When you smoke and drive, if you have to, because it's a medical reason, Is it impairing you? Is it things of that nature? Those are the questions that we get to, or what we talk about. It's always that. It's never the points that we talk to, the educated part. I can't get them to see that. I that's just like me sending the link, standing right in front of them. This is what I do. If anybody is in here and you came over here because of me or whatever, we link up and we communicate. I stand there and watch them if they're going to do it. If you say you're going to do it, show me you're going to follow us on YouTube, but show me this and show me that. So then that's when I become educated to them, because now they see me putting in the work. Fuck what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. It's never the talk. It's always people want to see. Like I say, we're living in this social media world, which is cool with me because they could get out that way. We're just, to me, we're underdogs, but we got something for that. Like for what, to finish answering your question, people don't care about the hard shit that we back in the background doing in the back. This not for them. It's more convincing, like Carlos or like you or Gary. We need to push y'all to go vote. Well, vote for what? They ain't gonna do nothing but do it this way anyway, whatever. And then every time we get on here, we really concur with them for the most part in a different way, because we still pushing this shit and it's not working. So if we can't make it work, how are we going to be convincing? Me, when I talk to people for now, hey, do you smoke? Because I don't want to waste my time with yours. 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to smell like cannabis. So already that's just that on that. As pretty as I may be, no matter what I have going on down there, like, damn, yeah, I'm not ashamed. So I'm not that one walking around in fake shit. I'm real with it. You're either going to accept it or move on, because I'm probably going to do this again tomorrow, like that sinner who's going to wake up and sin again type shit. So that's where I'm at with that. It's not, I don't know.
If I had a cologne that was strictly made out of terpenes, I'd be good with that.
But here's the thing, and here's I've often said that the biggest problem cannabis has is how complicated it is.
Yeah.
I'm here. I resonate with what you're saying, Katrina, because I'm here. I've got 2 retail stores. I'm talking to people every day about hemp and cannabis, right? I'm asked 50 times a day what the difference between indica and sativa is. I've known that for years now, and people still don't have it down, right? And once you start talking about terpenes, it's like their brain shuts off, right? And it's frustrating because you want to explain to people how amazing and how great this plant is.
Just hand the blunt, y'all. This is it. This is what I got. From now on, if you want somebody to know what you have going on, hand them something. Here, taste this, smoke this. What that make you feel like? Give it a couple seconds. Where you at with it? Where are you at? Can you still walk around? Can you think straight? Oh, you're thinking a little clearer now. Oh, you got some other shit on your mind. See, that's what I'm saying.
Here's the contrast to this, though, that I feel like I've never suffered an anxiety attack from cannabis, because I know what cannabis is. I know what it's doing to my body, and I know that I'm safe. I think part of the reason why people have like bad ideas about cannabis is just because they don't understand it. People fill shit in their mind and they get into their own head.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Carlos. Then all of a sudden, scromiting is like
they Dr. Phil Cousins and shit. Yeah. Medical lab. They work at the medical lab.
Thing that can happen.
Carlos, there's a couple of points that really from both you and Katrina that I want to touch on at the moment is sativas. If I smoke those or imbibe a sativa late at night, I notice I will be in my own head for hours. I recall it was Christmas Eve, and I did not sleep. I was awake for 8 hours. I decided to smoke at 11, and I was up till the sun came up, just thinking and planning and doing stuff. So there is that you have to also, as a cannabis consumer, that's why learning about your body and learning about yourself is so important. You have to know that, hey, when I use this is the result versus when I use this. Because if you're using indica and you're in that couch and you go to sleep, that's great. If you use a sativa and you're sitting there wide awake all night, in your own head, you got to know these things. And for beginners, that is such a precarious situation, because people from one bad experience can go off and I'm not doing that ever again, right? And Carlos, I think what you do is so important, but it goes back to the average American has a 6th grade reading level, and you're giving them a botany, chemistry, and anatomy lesson in 5 minutes front of them to sell the products, right? And for most people, they never even got to that level in high school to take those 3 classes.
And what's more is that I think that the producers of the cannabis strains in this country right now have hybrided the hell out of things so much.
Oh,
that
yes,
there
Gary.
is no pure sativa or pure indica out there anymore.
I'm gonna make
They're
a
all some kind of hybridization. So whether you have to figure out the hybrid that I'm getting, is it leaning 89% to indica or 75% to indica, or is it right down in the middle of the center where it's supposed to be? And you're not going to find a pure hybrid at 50-50. You're not going to find a sativa at 100% or an indica at 100% unless you know the exact strain and if it's a land race.
Unless you pull it off the tree yourself. Simple.
If you have to grow it
you got to
yourself,
pull it
that's
on
what
off the
comes down
bushes.
to.
Gary, you just touched on a whole nother issue that the
Yeah.
average American don't understand. Land races. Cannabis that is indigenous to a certain area that has been isolated from outside genetics, kind of like the Ethiopian Bible, right? Compared to white Christianity, right? It's never been touched. And so that's the thing. There are certain cultivars of cannabis from Africa, from Asia, that have not been hybridized, that have not been mixed, that have unique properties. That I recall, Carlos, one of the shows that you put me on back in 2014 was Strain Hunters. I didn't know that there were guys that would travel all across the world to get seeds from exotic types of weed that only exist in certain parts of the world. And one of the founders of Strain Hunters actually died doing that. He died in Africa of malaria because he was so dedicated to the mission. And I just thought that Franco, rest in peace for that, because they knew that they could bring relief, that possibly they could find a strain that might be able to help speed up the death of cancer cells because it has certain chemical properties. And then that same complexity of the plant creates a level of uncertainty in the science that the prohibitionists utilize as a talking point, and that irritates me. Oh, well, we don't know what's in it. We don't know what's in it because you refuse to study it. Oh, well, we need to study it. Yeah, but it's Schedule 1, so how are we going to study it to the level that you want it studied? Right. And then even once we do all the damn studies, because there's 20-some thousand studies a year on cannabis, and we always look at it. You can go to PubMed.gov right now and look at publicly released articles, scientific articles showing cannabis, and then they'll find one article a year that says some crazy shit that has a spurious connection, that has bad science, and they'll run that as the talking point. The latest one is scromiting. And I would say this: I've not actually had an incident where I have had a vomiting episode of cannabis, and there's always 2 clear factors. One, ridiculously high potency. Usually it's RSO, or I remember back in the 2000s smoking Willie Nelson or Super Silver Haze, super potent plants, right? But the other mitigating factor was diet. Every time I've ever had a vomiting incident with cannabis, it's because I ate Taco Bell.
If you eat, up at you.
All right, so you're saying Taco Bell is more dangerous than cannabis. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that cannabis is an immunoregulator. It strives to create homeostasis in a body out of balance.
Right.
It works to put your body in balance. The main thing that has our bodies out of balance is what we consume in the American diet on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So if you eat bad shit, the cannabis is going to tell your body, get that bad shit up out of you. If we went back and look at probably 80 to 90% of these people in the hospitals, out of the 1,000 patients that have come in the hospital in the last couple of years around cannabis, I'm going to go 90% is 1, you took too much too fast. 2, what did you eat?
Something. It's true. It's very true.
Because there are plenty of cancer patients who don't have these issues, right? Who take RSO on a daily basis, and they have very restrictive diets because of the cancer. So they're eating clean, they're eating healthy. If you tell me there's an epidemic of cancer patients coming in, then maybe we could look at this scromiting as a serious thing, but it's not. Even then, it's a buzzword. It's something that's created. And then you look at the social media, what news outlets are carrying it. And it's always these pay-to-play media. And then all of a sudden, if enough of them carry it, now the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times will carry an editorial behind it. And that is how media is manipulated in the modern age through social media. You find enough people who are hungry to get an advertisement on their blog, and you have the rehab industrial complex, the private prison industry funding these things. I do want to put one more point. The biggest enemy that cannabis has is the music industry.
Yeah.
Want to know why? Because the private prison industry has owned the music industry since NWA came out. And they purposely put out music that creates division and strife in the community. When's the last time, Katrina, that you heard a positive hip-hop song like KRS-One used to put out, or Nas?
Well, it's been since KRS-One.
But I'm saying in mass, right? In mass, right? Like when's the last time we had a fight?
It wasn't just a trend. It was more so of a, why are you guys doing this when you should be worried about that over there? This is what's making me feel the way I am, giving the crowd this, whatever.
Well, let's not forget though, the music industry also had promoted for many years, backed up by the tobacco industry to bolster new smokers throughout the country. Kool used to advertise putting out hip hop concerts and jazz concerts and pop concerts and things of that sort. Yeah. And they would pass out free cigarettes at the front gate. So it's a continuation of the same old.
Yep.
Marlboro would.
But I see, and that's the downer. So we was so like I say, we were already in competition with shit that had nothing to do with us. We wanna educate on this, and here it is, y'all handing out cigarettes. Of course, that's already watered down what we have going on. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean, and positive cannabis messages have always been difficult because prohibition is something that cannabis users deal with daily. So Cypress Hill we're one of the first groups to really take a pro-cannabis message, and most of their messages is, watch out, the cops are coming, the choppers are looking at you, and that is so much a major issue. Snoop is probably the one.
Tupac had his ways too. Now let's not forget Tupac.
Cypress.
Well, I grew up with Three Dog Night singing "Mama Told Me Not to Come," and
okay.
and
Cypress Hill had to do it without being banned from SNL, being banned from NBC, and no radio play whatsoever.
So it was a lot.
And of course, there was, ooh, that smell. Can you smell that smell? Yes, I can.
Question that I'm going to ask y'all really quick. Hold on your thought. This is all I'm asking. If you guys ever hear this, do you smoke? If so, what does it do for you? That's it. I don't want nothing. We will take it from there. Other than that, I'm not wasting any more time with nothing.
So, Kat, if a politician says, no, I don't smoke, what's our next move? Do we walk out the next move, or how do we go from there?
We go
do you support those who do?
And there we go. Are you a veteran? I'm going down the chain. I'm going to try to go down the chain. So to me, I feel like veterans are top tier. If nothing else right now, whatever we push for and fight for.
Katrina, at the top of the show, we were talking about how there were several politicians who smoked that, stood in front of these meetings and did.
Yeah, hold on.
Tried to pass anti-legalization things. Politicians are dirty fuckers. They're probably smoking.
Hold on, you ain't let me finish. This is the kicker. When they tell me all this, and we get to the point, if they do smoke. Okay, so are you one of the ones that's going to sit here and talk about how of a bullshit it is and what's the downers of it, and then you're going to go out to your house with your homies at the club and then you're going to hit a J? Are you those type? Are you going to go smoke when you go outside after you just talk shit about it, or what are we doing? Are you, because if not, you're my kind. So help me, I'm your kind. What are we doing?
Well, Kevin Sabet once went to a public forum and he brought a bag of gummies, which, by the way, he left there.
Did you
that was at the University of Tampa back in 2016.
Did you eat some?
Well, it was actually before the Amendment 2 actually passed. So
that was Kevin, 2014. Yeah.
Kevin, where did you get the gummies? Did you bring them across state lines? And were those yours?
Yeah, because Gary, you're right. Either he illegally transported them across state lines, or they're his personal stash, which makes him the worst hypocrite in America, or he stole evidence from the Office of Drug Control.
And who was this?
The head of Smart Approaches to Marijuana. He's the leading basically he runs the organization that's the opposite of normal. And he in 2014 was debating John Morgan and the executive director of Normal at the University of Tampa over the First Amendment 2 push. And as Gary's right, he used a bag of gummies as a prop, talk about how dangerous it is and what it could do to kids. And then he left the gummies on the table and forgot about them when he left the debate. So that is definitely a fuck up on his part. So.
But it's so dangerous for the kids. But
Gary brings up a good point. Where the fuck did you get those gummies from, my friend? Because you're either jacking evidence, which you forgot, which is a no-no. They're your personal ones, which makes you a hypocrite, or you got them from another state.
Your homie, you got that from your homie that you finna go sit in the car and eat it with. That's what I'm saying. Which one are you? Are you those kind? Are you the faker? Are you the kicker? Which one are you? What are we doing here? All right. So that's just that on there. I would have called them out.
So. We've been jawboning for about an hour trying to make some time while we're waiting for our guests to arrive.
Gary, I know Leader Driskell is dealing with a legislative emergencies at the moment. So unfortunately, we will not be able to have her as the guest on the show. We will be rescheduling her though to talk more about what's happening in the Florida legislative session. I'm glad we got the opportunity to recap. Gary, thank you again for going up to Tallahassee and advocating on behalf of the organization, on behalf of our members, and working with our partners at Florida Cannabis Action Network, and all the different organizations that were up there, advocating to make this happen. There is a lot of bills that had to do some positive. There are some bills that are negative when it comes to the cannabis users. All in all, we're going to keep staying positive in our fight. Carlos has been in this fight alongside me now for going on 12 years, and it has turned him from an optimist into a pessimist, and it can do that if you put in over a decade of work. But I want to say this: Pete Strzok, the founder of Normal, who I just had the pleasure of sitting through our national Normal board of directors meeting yesterday with, is in his 80s. He has been doing this for over 55 years with Normal, and he still remains a positive and continues to push despite every hurdle. And I just want us all to channel a little bit of Keith's energy as we look to what we need to do here locally in Florida and what we're doing in the greater fight in America. There's a lot on the horizon coming up. I'm proud that Normal is partnering with High Times, that's been revived by the founder of Raw Papers, Josh Kesselman. And we actually have Gary, a guest coming from High Times later this week on the show. Gary, why don't you tell us a little bit about the show that we can expect coming up later this week?
That's just what I was about to bring up. Javier Haas, who's an excellent journalist. May not be a citizen, but that's okay because he's from Ecuador. But he also used to be in Benzinga. And now he is the editor-in-chief of High Times, and we're more than happy to bring him on and talk about the zeitgeist, because he is one of these go-to people who has so much information about every single piece of legislation, every single piece of the industry that's going on in this country right now, and he is giving a great advantage to High Times, which just got rid of the swamp. They literally had the swamp running High Times over there for a while. They got rid of the guy. He's under some kind of indictment right now. But we're glad to see High Times getting back on its collective feet. We're looking forward to getting Javier on.
Well, I think that's an issue that happens with a lot of great organizations when they go publicly traded. You get CEOs and people in the C-suite who are just looking to make a bunch of money as quick as they can. And that oftentimes can lead to a change in culture. Josh Kesselman, on the other hand, if anybody follows the social media presence of Raw Papers, is an amazing cannabis advocate. He actually donated money to Normal last year, which made all the difference in the world to continue our advocacy efforts at the national level. And him bringing on Javier to help be the editor-in-chief of High Times is pretty amazing. Gary, what time is that show going to be and what day this week so folks can tune in live rather than watch the Sunday replay?
I believe we are going to be at, is it 3 o'clock on Thursday?
Okay. All right, so I'm excited for our show Thursday the 30th, right? And then we're gonna go replay it on Sunday for everybody who can't watch live. You might be at work, you might be busy on Thursday, but I'm pretty excited to have Javier on, and High Times to have its its revitalization in the 21st century. We've had the previous editor-in-chief and photographer Malcolm McKinnon on the show several times. I'm excited to have Javier on the show. Looking forward to possibly getting Josh Kesselman on the show later in the year. So there's some great opportunities to have some amazing guests. We're going to have some awesome guests coming up in the month of February. Everything from replaying the show on High Times to having some more candidates on the show who are running for Congress to hear what we're going to do in regards to legalization. Having some candidates who are running at state level to see what we can do in Florida, especially with the 2026 elections. Having some folks who are part of the First Nations and who have been on the ground in the indigenous cannabis sector and seeing how they have been able to start developing their own industries, in the United States and Canada and North America. So, all in all, we're going to continue to strive each and every week to bring you amazing guests, amazing topics. I look forward to having Leader Driskell on the show in the future. Hopefully we can work it out. Maybe we can come back later today and broadcast once she gets over these legislative fires that she's putting out. But again, there's a lot going on right now in Florida. There's a lot going on in Congress. There's a lot going on in the streets. I would say all of this to everyone listening and watching: protect your peace, protect the peace of mind, protect the peace of the body, and as always, educate and medicate. Hit that like and subscribe button. Share these videos. Share these topics. If you have a topic or a guest that you want to see on the show, send us a message. You can visit suncoastnormal.org. And you can let us know what's important to you, what issues, what guests, what topics you want us to talk about on the show. If you yourself are someone in the cannabis space, a budding entrepreneur, if you're an advocate, if you're someone who's political and you want to come out of the green closet and tell everybody that you're a proud cannabis user and that it helps you, you can visit us. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to YouTube at Suncoast Normal. Check us out on Instagram at Suncoast_normal. And, of course, become a member. Your membership makes all the difference in the world. Gary, Carlos, myself, Katrina, all of us on the board are volunteers. We don't take a single penny to do this work. We make sure that your dues goes directly into advocacy and education and continuing to push the needle so that responsible cannabis users' civil rights are protected. And don't forget again to like and click share. And thank you all for watching. And we will be back with you this Friday for an amazing show live and the replay on Sunday at 11. And each Sunday, we're going to be jumping into rotation. Closing thoughts, gentlemen. Gary, we'll go to you first.
All right. First up, I know, Chris, because you're not in town right now. You're in beautiful Anne Arundel County.
Actually, I'm not in Anne Arundel County anymore, Gary. I'm in the Witness Protection Program, and I'm not telling you where I am because you seem to tell everybody else.
That's fine. But don't worry. You still have your Find My Phone on my phone, so I know exactly where you are. Don't worry about it. But I would do want to mention the fact that I've been people on who've been telling me this. ICE was spotted in Pinellas County this week in Pinellas Park. They've also been spotted in various parts around Fort Lauderdale and
Orlando.
So they are spreading out around Florida. Even though it was a purple thing and not necessarily anything they can get a good TV on and get a good shooting into, just be aware that they are out there, and be careful and protect your neighbors, because they're not just going after the worst of the worst. They're not even just going after the people who are undocumented. They're going after anybody who may have a shade darker skin than me.
Gary, I'm gonna pause on that for a moment and respond. I think it's important to remind people. People are probably thinking, well, what's that got to do with cannabis? Well, one, ICE, Border Patrol are federal agents that can enforce federal law. Cannabis remains a Schedule I drug under federal law. If federal law enforcement pulls you over, and even if it's legal, even if you have a card, they can take you to jail and hit you with federal charges. This is not an administration that is going to look the other way when it comes to cannabis. Criminals are criminals in their view. the nonviolent crime is crime to them. And remember that Pam Bondi is the attorney general. This is the same attorney general who fought against Amendment 2 in Florida for medical marijuana, and now she's in charge of the Justice Department. So if you think that it won't touch you because you're a white cannabis user, you are sadly mistaken. If you think it won't touch you because you're an African American and you got all your papers right, you're sadly mistaken. Do not let federal law enforcement catch you slipping. Carlos, what are your closing thoughts, brother?
Hey, smoke weed every day.
And with that, we'll see y'all in the next rotation.